Spider-Man Brand New Day is finally here, and after watching it, I honestly think this is one of the best Spider-Man movies we've gotten in years. Instead of trying to be bigger than No Way Home, Marvel took a completely different approach. They made the story smaller, more emotional, and much more personal. Today we're breaking down the first half of the movie, covering the opening, the biggest early moments, new characters, Peter's struggles, and everything that sets up the rest of the film. Let's jump right in. The movie begins 4 years after No Way Home, and right away you can feel how different Peter's life has become. Nobody remembers Peter Parker anymore. No MJ, no Ned, no Avengers, no family. It's honestly one of the saddest openings we've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. Peter now lives by himself in a tiny attic apartment in New York. It's small, worn down, and almost completely empty. Marvel spends a surprising amount of time showing his daily routine, and it works incredibly well because you immediately understand how lonely his life has become. He still keeps the letter he once wrote for MJ. He still has small memories from his old life, including the coffee cup she gave him. These little details aren't just there for nostalgia. They constantly remind us that Peter remembers everyone, even though nobody remembers him. One brand new addition is an AI assistant called EV. Since Peter has almost nobody to talk to anymore, EV has become one of the only voices he regularly hears. It's a subtle addition, but it makes his isolation feel even more real. From there, we see Peter fully embracing life as Spider-Man. He spends his mornings improving his equipment, upgrading his web shooters, tracking crimes across New York, and preparing for another day of protecting the city. Crime is actually falling because Spider-Man has become incredibly active. People may not know Peter Parker, but they absolutely know Spider-Man. One nice detail is that the city has almost started depending on him. Everywhere Peter goes, he's constantly responding to emergencies without expecting anything in return. It really brings back that classic friendly neighborhood Spider-Man feeling that many fans have wanted for years. But very quickly, Marvel starts teasing that something isn't right. Peter begins suffering from painful headaches. His senses become much stronger. Loud sounds suddenly become overwhelming. His reflexes feel sharper than ever before. At first, Peter doesn't really understand what's happening, and neither do we. The movie slowly builds this mystery instead of explaining everything immediately, which makes the entire first act much more interesting. Another emotional scene happens when Peter gets a reminder to visit Aunt May's grave. Even after everything that's happened, Peter still visits her regularly, showing that she's still the biggest reason he refuses to give up. Those quieter moments honestly become some of the strongest parts of the movie. Rather than rushing into giant CGI battles, Brand New Day spends time rebuilding Peter as a person, and because of that, every action scene feels much more meaningful. Speaking of action, the first major sequence is fantastic. Spider-Man swings through New York with some of the smoothest web swinging we've ever seen in a live-action Spider-Man movie. The camera follows Peter flying between buildings at incredible speed while stopping robberies, saving civilians, and chasing criminals through the streets. Everything feels fast, practical, and grounded. Many fans have already compared these swinging scenes to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and honestly, it's easy to see why. The movement feels incredibly fluid while still keeping that classic MCU style. Soon after, we're introduced to another major storyline involving Scorpion. Authorities are transporting him under heavy security, but things quickly go wrong. Criminals attempt to break him free during the transfer, creating complete chaos throughout the city. This is where Spider-Man finds himself caught right in the middle. He's not just fighting one side, he's trying to stop everyone. That creates some really fun action because Peter refuses to let anyone get seriously hurt, even when multiple groups are attacking each other at once. Around the same time, we also get our first real look at the Punisher. John Bernthal immediately brings a completely different energy compared to Spider-Man. Where Peter wants to save everyone, Frank Castle wants to end the fight as quickly as possible. Their completely opposite approaches create some really entertaining moments early in the film, and you can already tell Marvel is setting up an interesting relationship between these two characters. As all of this is happening, another mystery slowly starts growing in the background. Several strange incidents begin appearing across New York. People behave oddly. Events don't seem connected. Some characters almost appear to lose control without explanation. Peter realizes there may be something much bigger happening behind the scenes. Instead of immediately revealing the villain, the movie treats it almost like a detective story. Spider-Man starts investigating clues while trying to understand why so many unrelated events seem connected. That slower mystery gives Brand New Day a completely different feeling compared to previous MCU Spider-Man movies. Meanwhile, Peter's own condition continues getting worse. The headaches become stronger. His body keeps changing. His senses continue evolving. Even Peter himself starts questioning whether these new powers are actually helping him, or slowly turning him into something much more dangerous. The film never rushes these moments. Instead, it slowly builds tension until you can feel that something major is about to happen. By the halfway point, Peter is facing challenges from every direction. He's trying to protect New York. He's investigating an invisible threat. He's dealing with mysterious physical changes. And on top of all that, he's still carrying the emotional weight of losing everyone he ever cared about. That combination of emotional storytelling and grounded action is exactly what makes the first half of Brand New Day work so well. Instead of relying only on massive MCU spectacle, Marvel lets us spend real time with Peter Parker again. And honestly, it's one of Tom Holland's strongest performances yet. But everything we've talked about so far is only the beginning. Because in the second half of the movie, Peter's mutation becomes far more dangerous. Hulk enters the story in a massive way, the mystery villain finally starts coming into focus, and the movie builds toward one of the biggest Spider-Man finales we've seen in years. We'll cover Peter's mutation, Hulk, the mystery villain, the emotional ending, the post-credit scene, and why this movie could completely change Spider-Man's future in the MCU. Let's get into it. After spending the first half of the movie establishing Peter's loneliness and mysterious physical changes, the story really starts picking up from here. Those headaches Peter had earlier, they're no longer just headaches. His entire body is beginning to change. Throughout the movie, Peter notices his powers becoming stronger every single day. His reflexes become almost impossible to keep up with. His hearing becomes incredibly sensitive, and perhaps the biggest surprise of all, he starts producing organic webbing naturally instead of relying entirely on his mechanical web shooters. This isn't simply a new power, it's a sign that Peter is evolving into something much more dangerous. Marvel clearly took inspiration from the other storyline from the comics, where Spider-Man undergoes a terrifying rebirth and his spider side begins taking control. The movie never rushes this transformation either. Instead, every scene slowly builds more tension. Peter starts questioning whether these new abilities are making him a better hero or causing him to slowly lose himself. One of the biggest highlights of the movie has to be the incredible fight against Hulk. From the trailers, we already knew they would eventually face each other, but seeing it on the big screen is on another level. The action feels massive. Spider-Man uses every trick he has. He swings around buildings, creates enormous web traps, and even manages to temporarily slow Hulk down using his brand new organic webs. Some shots during this sequence honestly look incredible and might be some of the best Spider-Man action we've ever seen in live action. What's even more interesting is that Hulk isn't simply acting like a normal villain. Bruce Banner is struggling to control himself after his inhibitor fails, creating an emotional conflict instead of a straightforward hero versus villain battle. At the same time, another huge mystery continues unfolding throughout New York. The invisible threat Peter has been investigating finally starts making more sense. Without spoiling every twist, the film leans heavily into psychological danger rather than just physical fights. People begin acting strangely. Entire situations spiral out of control almost instantly. Peter realizes the city is dealing with an enemy that's far more complicated than anyone expected. This detective-style approach makes Brand New Day feel very different from previous Spider-Man movies. Meanwhile, the Punisher continues playing a major role. Unlike Peter, Frank Castle believes the quickest solution is often the most violent one. Watching these two heroes constantly disagree creates some fantastic moments throughout the movie. Despite their differences, they eventually realize they're fighting for the same goal, leading to several exciting team-up sequences that fans are definitely going to enjoy. Another standout performance comes from Sadie Sink's mysterious character. Marvel keeps many details hidden until later in the movie, but her role becomes much more important than the trailers originally suggested. She ends up playing a key part in Peter's journey and helps connect many of the mysteries introduced earlier in the story. As the final act begins, Peter reaches his lowest point. He's physically exhausted, emotionally broken. His mutation is becoming harder to control, and for the first time, it genuinely feels like Spider-Man might not be able to save everyone. Fortunately, this emotional struggle becomes the heart of the ending. Rather than winning through pure strength, Peter succeeds by remembering exactly why he became Spider-Man in the first place. Not because people know who Peter Parker is, not because anyone thanks him, but because helping people is simply who he is. That message gives the finale much more emotional weight than just another superhero battle. By the end of the movie, Peter has grown tremendously. He's stronger than ever, his powers have evolved. But perhaps most importantly, he's finally beginning to accept that even if the world never remembers Peter Parker, Spider-Man will always have a purpose. After the credits finish rolling, we get one single post-credit scene. Instead of relying on giant cameos, Marvel keeps things surprisingly simple. Ned's spider tracker suddenly detects a Spider-Man signal. At first it appears normal, then the map keeps zooming farther and farther away, past New York, past Earth, past the moon, until the signal appears somewhere deep in space. The screen simply reads "Location found." It's a quiet but fascinating tease that clearly points toward the future of the MCU and helps bridge Spider-Man into the events leading toward Avengers Avengers Doomsday, and eventually Secret Wars. Overall, Spider-Man Brand New Day delivers exactly what many fans were hoping for. It brings Spider-Man back to his street-level roots while still expanding his story in exciting new ways. Tom Holland gives what many are calling his best performance yet. The action is incredible, the emotional moments land perfectly, and the ending leaves fans excited for what's coming next. After years of huge multiverse events, this movie reminds us why Spider-Man works best when the story is personal. And judging by the audience reactions and record-breaking box office, it looks like Marvel absolutely nailed it. If you enjoyed this full breakdown, don't forget to subscribe because we'll have even more Spider-Man Brand New Day videos, hidden details, Easter eggs, deleted scenes, and Avengers Doomsday updates coming very soon.